Cascade Hoops Talk. Billy D. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Hope you're being safe, taking care of your family. Stay inside. Listen to Cascade Hoops Talk. Hey, we're really happy today to have Dwight Burton, Madonna University. He's a two-time All-American. This season, he was a first-team All-American. Absolute scoring machine. Dwight Burton scored well over 700 points each of his 2 seasons at Madonna. And this season, Dwight was the NAI D2 third top scorer. Welcome, Dwight. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Dwight, you went to high school at Detroit Delta Prep, and then out of high school, you decided to go to Macomb, JC. Just talk about your experience at Macomb your first couple years.
Okay, well, going into Macomb, it was kind of like a tough decision. Coming in, I kind of had like a lot of JUCOs like in Michigan that wanted me. For me, like since I haven't really been playing organized basketball that long, so like recruiting was tough. So I made the decision to go to Macomb because I knew one of the players there, and I like the assistant coach really seemed like a guy that really cared. Shut. And then so as far as when I got there, it was a tough adjustment. Had to, basketball became way more serious than it was in high school. In high school, you barely even practiced. So, I mean, like, it was a tough adjustment, but, like, with the teammates I had there were great leaders such as Antonio Capaldi, Daryl Porter, and Malcolm Cohen, who all 3 of them still went on to play at universities, too. So, I mean, my transition was probably more easier for others just because I had great leaders around me to teach me how to play the game and which way to go. So, it was kind of smooth transferring to Macomb.
Your freshman year at Macomb, you guys had a pretty good team. You went 28-7. I know you talked about it being different than high school, but how fun was that?
That was by far, that was probably my funnest year ever playing basketball that year. I mean, all of us just combined together, like, just for one goal. Like, from the top guy all the way down to the 12th guy, we all knew that we wanted to be the first team in Macomb history to go to nationals, to make it, to win the tournament and go on and play. So everybody just locked in from that day forward, and we just went out there and played together every game. That was an awesome season.
So, Dwight, I should know this, and I don't, but where did that Macomb team end up your freshman year? How did you end the season?
So we played in the tournament. We won the tournament. We go to nationals. We played the first round against, I think it was a New York team we played against, and we lost the first round. But, like, doing the JUCO tournament, you get to play on for. So we played a game after that. We won that, and then we lost our last game and packed it up. It was like 7th in the country or something.
And then you played there 2 years. In your sophomore year, you must have lost quite a few players after your freshman year because, you went 17-13 your sophomore year.
We lost a lot going into them, but we brought a lot back too. But it was like, for us, it was basically like an adjustment process because we lost, I think it was like 6 incredible sophomores that year. So now we coming back. Now we all sophomores trying to work hard, and then we lose Shep, which was a very key piece to our success. So when we lost him, and we still scrambling to try to get stuff to switch up our game plan because now he's at Henry Ford, so now we against him. And it was a lot of stuff going on. But we still made it to, I think, like the Final Four that year. We lost in the Final Four.
So after you complete your 2 years at Macomb, then you had to decide what you're going to do with your the rest of your college career, and you made a decision to go to Madonna. You just talk about what led you to Madonna.
Okay, what led me to Madonna? I had a couple. Me going into like starting playing basketball late, so I didn't really know like how everything like went and was set up. So I didn't know that like they told me you only get like 5 official visits to visit colleges, and like I took one to Arkansas Pine Bluff. I went to Gannon, I went to Concord, Wayne State. So I was just going to see every college, not knowing that there was a limit to how many official visits that you get. So when that had happened, I was like, oh crap, I kind of hit a stump. Like, oh, so now, like if I want to go to another out-of-state school, I would have to pay for the whole trip myself now since I didn't use so many of those visits up. And then my buddy, Sean Antonio Capaldi, who played for Macomb my freshman year, he went on to Madonna my sophomore year, so he was a junior. I was still at Macomb, so he talked to me a lot. And, like, I came here for, like, a camp or so. I worked a couple camps here, and the guys were cool. The coaching staff was awesome. And, like, I was just like, why not? Why not be a trend and don't go where people think I should go because talent-wise, people will say, oh, he should have been here, he should have been that. But I went where I felt like I was wanted. That's how I got to Madonna.
Okay. Hey, I got kind of a dumb question for you. Your freshman year at Macomb, you wore number 30. And then your sophomore year and your rest of your career, you wore number 0. It's kind of rare to see guys change their numbers. What was the story behind that?
The story was, when I first got there, he just, like, never had 0. So he just threw me 30. Like, it was just like, hey, you get this number. You're a freshman. You can't pick it. You just get 30. So I just went the whole season like, all right, I'll be 30. But then after the season was over, I asked him, like, is there any way possible that we can get 0? And Coach Tibbs was like, yeah, he'd make it happen. He'd order it for me.
So then you were 0. The rest, was that your number in high school?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
my number in high school.
So let's talk about this season. It started out, there was a lot of hype around Madonna in the preseason. There was a lot of expectations for your team this year. You open up the season at Judson and drop a 1-point game. You came home and you had to play a really good Bethel team. You lost that thing in overtime. All of a sudden you're 0-2. I mean, what were those games like? What was the mood of the team after that?
Me personally feel like that kind of stuff is what happens. Like when you get so much hype around you, it kind of like natural that people will start getting a big hit. So we went into Judson. I mean, we didn't play like pool, but we didn't play Madonna basketball. Like we went out there, and then it was a lot of we still like filling each other out, whatnot. That's a game. That was a tough game. I mean, we were still up 2 with like 5 seconds left. Dude come and hit a stellar shot at the end to win. And then going against Bethel, they were really tough. They at one point they didn't lose like the majority of the season. Like that was just a that team was prepared. Like that team came in hungry. Wasn't really that much hype around Bethel, but you knew that they were good. Especially like the guard they got there, Travion Cruz, very tough guy. He came and played awesome on our court. I mean, it was a tough to come off a loss to a team that everybody expects you to beat, then to come right back and turn around and play a tough team. I mean, we was hungry. We played good that game. They were just tough.
Especially at the start of the year, Bethel they were on fire, weren't they?
Yeah, they were hitting on all cylinders. I mean, and that's what Coach Knowles set us up for, though. He wanted that. So that at the end of the day, you want to play teams that you know are going to be at the NAIA tournament. You want to play teams that you know that are national teams that are going to be there. So when you see them there, or you just happen to bump heads, you prepare for it, and you already faced them, so you kind of know what they expect going into there.
So after that Bethel game, though, you were able to right the ship. You won 7 straight, and those wins included a big win over Spring Arbor. They were the defending national championship. You and Paul Marindet went head-to-head. He scored 36. You scored 29 in an overtime victory. Heck of a game. Talk about that game.
That game, going into that, we actually lost. Yeah, I think going into that, we lost Mark at this time. I think Mark got sick and couldn't play, like, for that 7-game stretch. And, like, we had, like, everybody just improved their game. So, especially, like, dudes like KJ, who had to come from off the bench to starting. And he came in that Spring Arbor game and played an awesome game. Like, we just all played together. Like, when we lost him Martin Meddy, everybody else just played awesome throughout those 7 games, especially Spring Arbor. Guarding that, having Josh have to guard Paul Meriden, who's a very tough guard. Lead his team well. Like, them guys are coached well. Very nice dudes, man. Like, even after the game when they lost, they still had their heads up high, gave everybody a 5 in the line, everybody smiling. It's a very, very good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed about those guys as well. They seem to handle losses and victories as well. They kind of a class group. Paul Marindet, everybody I talk to, and I've talked to him about this too, everybody says he can control the pace. Did you notice that when you played him?
Yes, for sure. Very, very under control dude. If he want to push the ball, he gonna push the ball. If he want to slow everything down and set up a play, he gonna slow everything and play. Very tough guard. He's a senior guard. What you expect? At that time, you got to be able to take the pace. And he's a good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good player.
So after that stretch, now you're 7-2. You're feeling a little better about life. In late November, went through another rough stretch. You dropped close games to Rochester, Siena Heights, and then you went on the road. You lost another tough game to what turned out to be your arch nemesis this season, Indiana Tech. How disappointed were you after going 7-2, and then you went back on a 3-game losing streak? What did you think then?
I mean, just had to turn everybody down. at this time, I think we got Mark back at this time. I think he probably came back to Indiana Tech game. So when we got him back, we took a step back. Right, and it's not Mark's fault. It was our fault. Because since we got him back, we thought like things are always about to be back easy now. Now we got our big man back down there, and it wasn't. Like, and then when you pick to be the number one team, everybody's gonna give you their best shot.
Yeah.
So we coming in lack in the close games that we can win if we just play our game, and it wasn't working out that way because we started thinking stuff was gonna come easy because we were the number one team in the conference, which you got to give Rochester and Siena and Indiana Tech big ups because they came there to play. We actually lost Indiana Tech by, I think, 15. Like, they really, especially at Tech, that's a tough place to play at. And that's just, I mean, this whole season, it kind of took for us to get punched in the face to realize that we're not done working yet.
So you mentioned your teammates a couple times. You guys had kind of I call it like a 4-pronged attack where you really had all the pieces. You mentioned Mark Mitty, you had him in the middle, yourself, and then Josh Reynolds, who, boy, he could really shoot the three right along with you, and then Henry Spate. Just talk about the strengths of each of those players you surrounded yourself with.
Awesome teammates. I feel like what a lot of people don't see, like, I feel like a lot of people know that Josh and Henry good, but I don't think they get like as much credit as they should be for being as good as they are. Like, I feel like if you put those dudes on any other team, they'll be a first team, second team All-American. Like, and that's just what I strongly believe. So everybody like came together to make sacrifices for the team. But y'all will see when Henry Spate is at Madonna next year. He's tough. Y'all got to stay watching. That dude's tough. Yeah, like, that dude can literally take over a game itself. He's tough.
He's so strong, and he can back you down and post you up and back you down. But then he shoots 40% from the three as well. So, pick your poison with him, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the dude's a 6'1", 220 guard that's playing forward that can play the 4-2. So now, he's tough, man. Very tough.
So after those losses, you guys turned right around. You went on another winning streak, 9-game winning streak. And in that 9 games, you defeated Indiana Wesleyan, one of the top teams in the country. You defeated Indiana Wesleyan in 2 overtimes. How exciting was that?
Believe it or not, that game actually, I don't even think that game was is that packed either. Like, I feel like probably one of our lower crowds. But just like the game itself was like amazing. Like, that was a game where just the game itself had so much energy. It don't even matter if there was nobody in the gym. That game was gonna be a classic. And like them having I think it's Seth Maxwell, their center. Like, that dude was like a monster in the paint all night. And then they got the National Player of the Year, Kyle Magnus, who came in there to play. That dude, he came in. I mean, it was a great game. I mean, I will for sure look back on a couple of these games, man, watch a couple films. And I'm going to watch some good basketball. Because that game, that was a good basketball game. It was back and forth all night.
I think the Indiana Wesleyan game was one where you guys, I think you were down by 4 with like 30 seconds to go or something. And you hit just a monster 3 and a little bit of a busted offense. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. You talking about that 3? That 3 was from way behind R2. Because we set up a play, I think, to run like a double screen for Josh.
Spate usually would have taken that. Burton from way downtown. My goodness.
What a shot.
But since everybody know he's such an awesome shooter, they played him like pretty tight off of it, ran him off the screen. And then Henry just ISO. He couldn't get nothing, just kick it to me, and I just let it fly.
That was a huge. That you wouldn't have went to overtime without that shot, Dwight.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been close. We wouldn't have been close.
That was a big shot. So, we talked about Paul Marindet. What about, Kyle Mangus played 42 minutes in that game. He scored 41. You played all 45 minutes, and you scored 31. You mentioned Maxwell, but what about Mangus in that game?
The thing that you don't get is that people don't understand that his game is not like blitzing. Like, when we first started watching film on him, I'm like, man, how is he doing it? Like, everything he do is just like, it's like fundamental. But that's what people say that if you get great at the fundamentals, you can be a great basketball player. And that guy shows you that he don't have to be flashy. He don't have to do that. He's just great at being fundamental. Like the whole game, he was just, no, he was chopping at us. A couple head fakes, easy layups, a couple open threes. Then he'll show you he can break you down off the dribble. The guy, he played an awesome game. Very, very awesome game.
Yeah, very, very good ball player. And then
very good ball player.
Now you're heading into the, the gut check part of the season. You won 6 out of 7 games going into that WAC tournament. How did you guys feel going into that tournament?
Well, at the end there, we kind of got like upset at ourselves because we went to Rochester, which is a very hard place to play at. Tough to play at Rochester. We went there and dropped the ball bad. So at this point, if you see how the season going on, if we take a loss, usually we take in 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? They like transfer over there. So now it's at the end of the season. We got 3 games left, and we just dropped the ball to Rochester. So now we got to turn around. And we can't drop 2 or 3 right now because we're too close to the tournament. If we want to be at the top, we got to win these. So for us to turn around and after going we won 4 in a row, to lose that one and bounce back and have to play Concordia and a tough Urban Dearborn team, but to pick up those 2 big dubs going into the WAC tournament to get the momentum was big.
So going into the tournament, you had Indiana Tech had ended up overtaking you for the regular season title. Did you guys feel like you had something to prove going into that WAC tournament?
Yes. I mean, every day you got to feel like you got something to prove, especially when you projected to be the number one team in the conference and you kind of dropped the ball. Like we lost a lot of games that I felt like we shouldn't have lost. No disrespect to none of the teams that we played and we lost to, but I feel like they picked us for a reason. We should have won it. So not winning that definitely made us way more harder to go in there and win the WAC tournament. And that was one of our goals that we've been set. We want to win conference. So we couldn't do the conference, so we had to work extra hard to win the WAC tournament.
And you did. You won the WAC tournament. I mean, how satisfying was that?
That was awesome. To kind of get like the history back on how Madonna never really got that much national respect. To them not willing to only winning one WAC tournament, that was 2013. So they've been out of it for like 6 years. So to come here and then, you know what I'm saying, be a focus point of that, to drive this team to do something that they've been hoping and needing, it was awesome. That's a feeling that I feel like you'll never be able to refill that. That was crazy.
Yeah, and you guys should be very proud of that. That's a tough conference, and I mean, you beat some good teams to achieve that. You had to beat Cornerstone in the final, and they have a really strong history.
Yeah, very very good coach, very great coach.
So then, Dwight, you're heading to Sioux Falls, and you get a matchup with IU Kokomo. So how did you feel about your matchup going into Sioux Falls? How did you feel about your matchup with Kokomo?
I feel like our matchup, it was a good matchup. I knew it was going to be a tough game. They got 2 tough guards there. They got a nice little undersized, with very physical big man. So we knew that we have to play hard and contain the guards from scoring. So me and coach made a decision that I was going to guard their star point guard, number 3, I can't remember his name. And then we were going to put Josh on 25. And going into the game, I knew like I gotta play defense. And the game had a lot of. I feel like we fouled a lot. The refs called a lot of touch fouls. Like we went into halftime free throws, they shot like 19 or like 3 or something like that. They were like 17 for 19 from the free throw line. We were like 2 for 3. We went into halftime. I think we were down 3 or 1. So I mean, we were feeling very confident.
What was your game plan against IU Kokomo? Because you're kind of 2 different teams.
I mean, the game plan was defend and not let them get out in transition. Because they score a lot in transition. If they get out in transition, they're going to be tough to stop. If you can stop the transition game, then they're a more containable team.
I thought going in that, and I'm curious your thought here. I thought going in, you guys were going to try to turn it into a defensive struggle, and Kokomo was going to try to turn it into more of a track meet.
Yeah. We knew that's what they do. If you let that team get out and run, then it's going to be a dogfight. If we could have stopped a transition, we felt like we could have the game.
You know, in that game, I mean, it was a tough ending. You guys ended up falling, I think, by 2. I got a question for you, Dwight. In the first half, Henry Spate, to me, he kind of looked unstoppable. And in the second half, it didn't seem like as many sets were run for him. Did you guys change your approach in the second half?
I feel like, we didn't change anything. It's just that Henry coming out. I mean, we ran the first play we ran for him. He got an offensive foul. So now it's like, he already, I think he was at like 3 fouls or 4 fouls at that time. So we can't, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to keep trying to force the ball down, even though like nobody is stopping him. Like he's been going at it all game. Like the first half he played unbelievable. But it's like at some point you got to be like, all right, we got to lean back off of him to take, because now they on him. Like every time he gets the ball, they're just flopping back, trying to get charges on him. So we still need him in the game. So we ain't running less sets for him. We just got to find like different ways to get him the ball where he can be successful without picking up another foul where he got to be on the bench.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we still came back to run the stats for him. He got offensive foul with 4, and this was like 12 minutes left. Now he on the bench. It's tough. It's probably a tough call. But yeah, that dude. If we had him more that second half, it would have been tough.
Yeah, he was.
But they wasn't stopping him.
I had forgotten that he got that 4th foul so early. You're right. That changed the complexion of the game.
The first half we had no Josh Reynolds. He got 3 fouls in the first 2 minutes. So I mean, like our game plan was like it switched quick. When your best defender and your best player get 3 fouls in 2 minutes, you gotta now somebody who don't play until like the 15-minute mark got to come in and play at the 18-minute mark. So it switch up the rotation, it switch up our game plan. Now somebody else got to guard their key player because Josh is on the bench. I mean, it was a lot. Like our game plan we had was good, but when we got out there, there was a lot of other stuff that stopped us from fully pursuing our game plan that we have.
Mark Meddy, you got to admit he had a heck of a game. He really kept you guys close. He had 14 rebounds, I think.
Yeah, once Mark found himself, he was very tough to stop. Like that guy is going to be a problem for these next 2 years. For the White and the Bay, be fortunate enough to make it back to the NAIA tournament, he's going to be a serious problem. Because it's like every time, like if you watch him last year to this year, you see the growth. So yeah, he's tough to stop.
All right, I'll ask you one more question about that game. When's the last time you shot 21% from 3?
That's probably the first game we ever shot 21% from 3.
Yeah.
I think the last time we did that was probably last year when we played Lawrence Tech.
You went 0 for 7 from in the first half. It was so losing Henry early to the 4th foul, and then the 3 just not going for you. It had to be disappointing loss.
Yeah, it really. And another thing though, we had one of our top 3 points, like the best shooter on our team on the bench. So it forced other guys to have to shoot shots when Josh not out there. But even still, then I mean, all our guys were ready to play. The shots just wasn't falling. So
that game ends, your season is over, and then they cancel the tournament. Well, the next day it was. So I got a question for you. Now that you think about it, do you think it's easier for you knowing that your career ended on the court versus the virus? I know with loss is never easy. I'd like your opinion.
Yeah, me personally, when we found out we was on the bus, but me personally, I would rather the virus end my season than losing. That's just me because I'm so competitive that I hate losing. So I would have rather win that game and still think like that could have been an opportunity that we could have went and did what we set our mind to and our goal was, than for me to know like that it's over.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
Like that's just me personally.
Because nobody, I understand what you're saying. Because once you win that first game, even if they cancel the tournament, nobody can take that away from you, right?
Yeah, and that would have been the first time in our program history that we got out the first round of the national tournament. So
Dwight, you had a really an amazing career both at Macomb and at Madonna. So what's next for you after college basketball?
I mean, I'm going to continue to work out, and hopefully some pro contracts come my way. And I'll be able to because I want to continue to play the game that I love. Yeah,
I think you could definitely play at that level. So it's probably pretty much everything's up in the air with the virus, isn't it?
Yes, everything is like all over the place right now.
Well, Dwight, you regardless, you should be proud of your career. 2-time All-American, first-team All-American, your senior season, really an amazing career. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.